how you developed, this the story through this relation between both. And I would like to, first of all, to ask you about the script. First, how you find this story. Second, how you were interested by it. And third of what is exactly from the book of Devereaux, what is if you were completely close to the story of you, in a way adapted to your own point of view.
I found that book when it was published in France. Actually, it's a strange book because the book is written by a French guy, Georges Devereaux, but the first publication of the book was in American because it's called Reality and Dream in American. But I read it in French when it was published, as I was saying to you, and I felt in love with the book, because of the title, the French title being Psychotherapy of a Plain Indian. And, since my childhood, I was fascinated by the Native American, because for the silliest reasons, because I just love Indians and to see Indians in the Westerns and et cetera, and also perhaps because of my age, what I mean is that in 67 or 68, there was all this movement, of the Native American people recovering their dignity, in America. So I guess that, seen from a French point of view, I was close to that. So my interest for Indians was something coming from my childhood and my love of cinema. And since my 20s, I'm reading book of psychoanalysis because it's my second interest in life, besides cinema, to read books of psychoanalysis. So to find in one book these two themes which fascinated me so much, I thought that it was beautiful, And I felt in love with the meeting, the encounter of these two guys coming from two different universes, one being a native and the other one being a Jewish European. And it's so surprising to see this encounter between two guys who should never meet and who meet in this sort of desert, which is Topeka. And the book is quite, you have all the first pages are a very theoretical part of the book about psychoanalysis and ethnopsychiatry and ethnology, etc., etc. But the very heart of the book is like Madeleine is saying in the film, it's like a theater play. You have all the verbatim of all the sessions from the very first hello to the very last goodbye between a patient and his psychoanalyst. So it's a human material which is really amazing because you have all the life of this guy and this guy plunging into his soul. So this book fascinated me for years and years until that point where I decided to try to transform it into a film. And the adaptation is really, really close to really use the verbatim and the dialogues that the people exchange. Obviously, I reduce it, because the book is a very big book, and I had to reduce it, for a film. But the adaptation of the book is quite faithful to the verbatim of it.
And do you feel that the idea, you had already the idea to go to America to make a movie, or it's coming only from this story, and because in a way there is, like you told us, two characters, each of one are foreigners in a way in their own America, or living in they are not what we can say the true American, and what was first of you, and it was not for you a kind of I think you have afraid of going to shoot in such a different way of shooting in America that what is to do in France or in England where you already shot.
No, it was, the decision to go in America to film such a film, it was because of the book, because I wanted to film that book. I guess in an odd way, it has to do with politics, and where I'm always embarrassed looking at a film film which present social victims is the fact that the social victims has to present themselves as victims. And what I love with Jimmy is the fact that Jimmy is not presenting himself as a victim of the social oppression. He is a victim of social oppression. Being a Native American is not completely American. And, this is a dimension, but the main dimension in his life is his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his sister, his relationship with his loves, all the regrets that he can have about his child, etc. And so this is what fascinated me, with that book. Is that it seems to me that is what psychoanalysis has to offer: the fact that you can look at yourself not as a victim but as a subject, and being and becoming the novelist of yourself. And this is the movement that I loved in that book, and I knew that it was that book that I wanted to adapt, and so that's why I knew that I had to in America to film it, and so we shot near Detroit, all the scene in the hospital, and we were very proud because obviously in the book the identity of Jimmy is disguised, is hidden, and we found the tribe where Jimmy was, where he was born and raised, and so we shot on the reservation in Montana where Jimmy grew up, and so we did all these scenes with the in Montana for all the flashback and the dreams that we shot there, and yeah, that's where we shot the film.
That is what is, I think it's really very clear in the film that you didn't use any Manichaeism. You didn't put anything else more than what is the real trouble of this the Jimmy. Not the kind of that he was in a way pursued or something like that. It was really concentrated in this relation, and this is very modern, and I think that it is unusual in the cinema, to stay so close to this to the story of this this treatment and things like that, and not to to try to fiction and putting more what you say more things that are not essential in that relation, and that I think is something that it's really what I admire in the film, but at the same time is what is sometimes what usual either the audience or the things they want more, and another thing that I'd like to ask you is about how it was from the starting the idea of Benicio del Toro, or something that came through research and something like that, or you wanted someone else? How did you arrive? Because Mathieu is someone that in all your filmography was more or less accompanying you all the time. But with Benicio, how it was the idea to take Benicio to this character?
Usually, I'm not writing for actors. I think that the idea to write for actors is not kosher for me. I like to write characters. I have no idea, who will play the part. Even, oftenly, I've been back to Mathieu or to Emmanuel DeVos to ask them, But even though, I'm writing just characters, and after that, I am asking to myself, okay, who would be the part? But on this one, we knew, the producer and I, that it would be complicated, to fix such a film, because the film has one foot in America and one foot in France. So we knew that in terms of production, it would be complicated. So I started to think about who could be the character. And in these days, when I started the writing, I sent a friend of mine in America to do some research and to bring me some material. And he brought me tons and tons of DVDs of native films, with Native American actors, and I found lovely actors, really lovely actors, but I didn't find my Jimmy. There was no Jimmy. What I mean is that I could see people that I could complain, but I couldn't see actors where I could identify with. You know, and obviously, I remember Mathieu saying to me, you know, the difficulty for you on this film is it's not a self-portrait, it's a double self-portrait. It's you as an Indian, it is you as a psychoanalyst, as a shrink, you know. So there was, so yeah, it was important for me telling the story of Jimmy to tell my own story, you know. And so I was trying to find a movie star because it seems to me that the movie star have this power to depict our very humble and personal suffering, you know, the suffering of everyone in the audience, you know. And so I was still working on that, and I remember that film, it was a film directed by Sean Penn, which is called The Pledge, which is not a film which is loved. It's a film that I really love, but it's not a famous film amongst all the Sean Penn movies, where Benicio del Toro was playing the part of a neurotic Indian, not a neurotic, a psychotic Indian, very enclosed on himself, you know, a pure block of suffering. It was a wonderful performance which really struck me. And I thought that not being born American, being born in Puerto Rico and arriving in America at the age of 14, etc., because I knew few things about Benicio's life, I thought that he could find his way to depict someone who is not Caucasian. You know, I knew that it wouldn't be possible for me to work with a Caucasian actor, with an Italian actor playing the Indian, like in the westerns of the 40s or in the 50s. You know, I remember a film, you know, that I really love, which is called Capote. I don't know if you saw that. You know, where the murderer is an Indian, but it's played by an Italian actor. You know, and so I never understand. Each time I'm looking at this film, even if I worship this film, I never understand the fact that the guy is a native. You know, because he's not a native. You know. But I thought that Benicio, not being an American, could bring something. You know, I'm Caucasian, you know, so I couldn't imagine to work with someone as Caucasian as I am, you know, so that's where the idea of working with Benicio grew up, you know. So as soon as I finished the first draft, I sent it to Benicio and I show him, you know, a few films and, you know, that I directed or a few films that I loved and, you know, and trying to depict to him, you know, the kind of film I wanted to make, and this is how it worked. So yeah, for the first time in my life, I worked for two. I wrote for two actors. You know, even with Mathieu, I remember saying to Mathieu, "It seems to me that I'm writing something, and I should propose it to you. You know, as soon as I finished it, it was the first time in my life I was writing for actors."
And how is to work with two completely, I think, different schools of acting? Because one is Benicio, with I think, I don't know, but I imagine very studios actor, something like that. And the other one, Mathieu, with this improvisation, always, you know, surprising us with the things. How it was to, you know, to manage, even if they really, you know, in a way, that's why they are, you know, really, you know, the ones to these characters. One like this exuberant, like Georges Devereux, and the other one completely, you know, inside and everything. But anyway, to work with them at the same time, it I don't. I would like you to tell us something about.
Oh, I remember so many things about that. There's one thing is that in the film, it seems to me that it's also it's the confrontation between these two men coming from two different universes, but it's also the difference between two actors coming from two different traditions. You know, one being the European tradition of acting, and the other one the so American tradition. You know, Benicio being a student of Stella Adler. You know, it's really the method thing, etc., etc. Yeah, they have two different ways of working. I could say to try to depict it, you know, that the American tradition of acting is that when you are working with an actor, there is one moment in the process where you are sharing the character, the director and the actor. Which means that at this moment of work, this very specific moment of work, you don't know if the character is belonging to the actor or to the director. You don't know. And it's a very delightful moment. You know, you have the character right in the middle of the two of us, you know, and we are working on that. And you show me how you do it. I'm showing you how to do it, etc. And it seems to me that with the American actors, it's during the preps that this magic moment of sharing the character did appear. You know, so we had very long sessions with Benicio and I in Los Angeles where we worked on the character, and which were the really creative sessions, you know, about the characters and trying to improvise and to find new ways and to change the lines and to change the scenes and to modify and to find etc. But with the French actor, it's during the shooting that where this moment of sharing the characters, this character does appear. And just to tell you one brief short story about that, I remember Benicio arriving to me something like 4 or 5 days before the shooting, with a very worried face, you know, and I was surprised and shocked. He was saying to me, Arnaud, don't worry. So I was worried because he was saying not to be worried. And he was saying, don't worry, but I won't be close to my shrink until I meet his girlfriend, Madeleine. You know, because I have to stay defiant, you know, because I'm not a Caucasian, I'm a native, you know, so I can't be confident with him until I meet, you know, so don't be afraid if I look cold and restrained, you know, but until I met his girlfriend, you know, I have to stay alone, and I have to stay by myself. And I remember the second day of the shooting, we had this first scene between Mathieu and Benicio. You know, it's the scene where the shrink is approaching, you know, near his patient, and after a few takes, you know, it was a quite complicated shot, you know, with the tracking, etc. And after a few takes, Benicio burst in laugh and said it would be really difficult not to fall in love with my shrink. You know, so that was the shock between, and also the shock between the tall Benicio and the small Mathieu, and you know, everything worked perfectly. Yeah.
Any question?
Fala em português, em francês, em inglês, tanto faz.
In French or English? It's
En
better.
français, d'accord. Non, le film m'a beaucoup plu. J'avais entendu parler de ce livre depuis longtemps. Je ne l'ai jamais lu. Je connais un peu la vie de Devreux. Et bon, et je voulais savoir si le film a déjà été vu aux États-Unis.
He's asking if the film was already seen at the United States.
Yeah, the film was. Do you have to answer in French or in American?
Comme vous voulez.
English, okay. Yeah, the film was shown for the New York. It was its premiere at the New York Film Festival, which is a very important film festival in October. I think it's in October. So we show it in October. It was its premiere, and this very week it was shown for its premiere in Los Angeles. But I couldn't be in Los Angeles, working here in Paris. And yeah, but it was the first time, and it was strange and it was really scary, you know, for me to show this image of America, a different kind of America, which is usually shown, you know, on the screen, to show it to an American audience to see how they would respond to it. And it was so warm, and it was really overwhelming. And I think that, you know, it's a period piece. And in these years, I'm speaking about the late 40s, beginning of the 50s, it was this amazing moment where America believed to itself, where America believed in, even if these terms can seem silly today, about brotherhood. You know, the idea that if we work together, we can build a better world. You know, and after the war, there was this spirit, you know, and in this Topeka institution, you know, it was really so open-minded, you know, with the Afro-American doctors, Japanese doctors, and doctors from all over the world, you know, united in this hospital and trying to work, you know, with these vets, you know, and trying to achieve something better, to build something better. And so to see how the American audience was responding to this image of their own country was really thrilling and moving, you know. And in Los Angeles, obviously, I was scared to death because it was the first screening for the Native American community, you know. So I was wondering how it would happen, and it happened quite well. So I was happy with it, and that's it.
I think it's one, you know, very, in a way, peaceful and what you say, optimistic film, because this. Someone that's suffering but trusts so much to the one that he gives himself, and the other one dedicates to them, and everything goes in a kind of not, you know, what you can say, not with the wounds are there, but the wounds are, you know, more or less trying to disappear, and in a peaceful way. I think it's something even new in your career. I don't know. You know, usually it's different.
Feel safe, you know. Next film it will be Sturm und Drang, and it will be, you know, tortured, etc., etc. But this one was peaceful and optimistic. Yeah, it was.
Just another question. Is Devreux rather well known in America, or he died in America, as far as I know, I think, and he
No.
became American. But
No, Devreux is not well known in America.
No.
His books were published in America, but he's not well known. The guy who is well known in America is Geza Roheim, who was the
Another
teacher
one, yeah.
and of Devreux, and is one of his strings, and is the guy who let him go in America and helped him a lot, to find this job in Topeka. So Geza Roheim, he's the big star in America, and Georges Devreux is the big star in France. And Geza Roheim is quite unknown in France.
But Devreux didn't die in America?
Sorry?
I thought that Devreux died in America.
No, he died in France, but
He came back to France.
Yeah, he came back to France after,
a long time.
in his 50s, and he started to be teacher in Greek mythology. He died there, but he was buried in Mojave Cemetery, and so that's where he rests. He rests in America, even if he died in France.
Okay. And he was Hungarian. He was born in Hungary. He came from Hungary. Hongrois, il était hongrois.
Yeah, he was. He was not French. He was quite a character. He was always lying, saying, I'm French when he was Hungarian, and after that, saying to the French, I'm American. Even if he stayed in France, saying I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic, even if he was Jewish. He was a guy always lying to everyone. He had a very novelistic life. He married seven times, I think, legally. It was quite a character, lovely character.
And there is, I think that Toby Nathan is his disciple.
Yeah,
but
but it's quite controversial, because in France he has two disciples. One being Toby Nathan, who is running the Georges Devreux Center in the north of Paris, where they are treating patients, who are not Caucasian, African patients or North African patients, etc. And the other one being Elisabeth Roudinesco, who write the forewords of the book. So one being very Lacanian and the other one being very anti-Freudian. So not being a psychoanalyst, I don't dare to say anything, because I'm between the two enemies. One between the two schools. One saying no, Devreux is mine, and the other one saying no, Devreux is mine. So I don't know. I guess that Devreux is not belonging to anyone. That he was a free spirit, and that's it.
Merci.
I have a question here. Let's leave Devreux, and I would like to go back to Desplechin. There is, at a certain moment, Picard goes to the cinema, and we see a scene from young Mr. Lincoln. And why that film, and why that precisely that scene?
I was, I knew, when I wrote, in the script, I knew that there's something which fascinated me in films. Is the image of widowers. It's something which already moves me to the bones, is to see a widower on screen, And I was thinking about a film with Gary Cooper, and it was, I forgot the title of him, by Delma Daves, but the film was from 57, so it was not possible. So I was trying to find a film with a widower, because Jimmy is looking at this film with the widower on the grave of his first wife, mourning her. And after the screening, thinking about his own life and thinking, that's my life. What I saw in screen is my life. And I thought that it was so ironical and lovely and funny and surprising to see a Native American guy looking at the President of the United States and thinking, oh, but what did happen to this guy? I had exactly the same experience, and recognizing himself, and plus you had behind, Fonda, you had the image of the frozen river behind him, which reminded me the death of the young girl that Jimmy lost, in his childhood. So the image was quite powerful with this frozen river behind him. And I thought that the irony of an Indian looking at Lincoln and thinking, it's exactly my life, it was the perfect image I was trying to find, and that's why, And after that, you have this very strong line, which is, I've already been a man who let a woman die. I've already been a man who let a woman die. And, and so to me, it was the perfect image for that. And I guess it was a tribute to John Ford, and his relationship with natives.
Thank you.
Any other question? Olha, faz favor, pode, epá, o com o flash não, se faz favor, tira a coisa. Se faz favor. Any other question? Okay, thank you. I think we have a I think it's Esther Khan that is showing here at 6 o'clock, and I think just you take your plane if you can just say some words before Esther Khan. It will be fantastic. Okay, thank you.